MY24 Beta 300RR Race Edition. All right, guys, we're back in the shop with the brand new 24. You can see the suspension is gone. Of course, I sent that out right away, and the simple reason is I know what I like. I know I get it set for my weight, and the guy I work with is fantastic, so I don't want to waste a minute enjoying this bike. But what I'm going to talk about in this video to begin with is let's talk about my 21, and then let's start to look at some quick overview of this bike in regards to changes from 21 to 24. Quite a bit. Visually, it doesn't look too much different other than the plastics, the radiator shrouds and the stickers, but mechanically, there's quite a bit different. So the 21 had about 170 hours on it, and really had no problems with it. Still the original wheel bearings, which I'm still shocked at. I went through a set of chain and sprockets. I did have to rebuild the slave cylinder, which I would recommend you do when you do a top end. And I did do a top end at about 150. It looked perfect. Could have gone longer, but I'm glad that I did it, so I got to know that motor. I did do the high compression head with RK Tech. Incredibly pleased with the performance, but I'll be honest, I did struggle with jetting quite a bit to get that right. So that was something. It's part of it. But the cool thing is these bikes are so easy to jet because you can completely jet them on the bike. You don't have to take anything off, just loosen the carburetor and you can rotate it and jet your bike the way you want it. So that's a real positive. That makes it easy. And of course, these carburetors are so fantastic because you can jet them any way you like. So the 21 held up incredibly well. I think Beta did a fantastic job on that redesign. The back end being as narrow as it is. I think the plastics held up. Rode it a ton, washed it a ton. Any of the mods I did worked great. Can't say enough good things about it. Clutch held up. Even the areas where you rub on the bike with your feet, all of that stuff really was good. Pipe held up good. So I would say this new generation is a fantastic generation motorcycle, and I think people would generally agree with that. And that's just my experience. So let's talk about this bike and what has changed. Of course, internally, this has a diaphragm clutch now. Other manufacturers have had the diaphragm clutch for quite some time. It's supposed to give you a little easier clutch pull, although I didn't really experience a problem on my 21 or my 18. But we'll see how that goes learning it. I'm sure it'll be fine. The big change with this is the over square motor. And I said that to somebody the other day and they didn't understand what I meant. Over square means the bore is bigger than the stroke in this motor now. Where the 300s used to be were called square motors, the bore and stroke were the same. The orange guys, they still use square motors. For the 300RR editions, both standard and race, they use the over square. Four-stroke race bikes are over square. Big diameter pistons, super short stroke. Allows them to rev faster and rev longer. I think that's a little bit of what Beta was trying to do here. We'll see how it rides. We'll learn more about that. An under square motor would be like a diesel truck. Long stroke, small pistons, lots and lots of just torque all day. So that's the major engine difference. Of course, you'll see the power valve resonator. You'll see the spacer there. That was not on the 21, but that's typically on the X-Trainer. So they put that on there, and that must help with some sort of performance on that. The resonator helps the timing of the power valve and what's going on with the gases. So that's something you can mess with yourself. It's there. You can put in shorter bolts, take it out, put it in. Let's see how it goes. The big change for this year, of course, is the dual spark plug. which is probably mostly an emissions thing. We may see a performance benefit with it. I'll show it to you. It'll be interesting to see. And of course, this has the expensive spark plugs that are somewhat difficult to find. They're an iridium plug, very European. We'll figure that out as we go. Run the plug they recommend is always the best thing you can do. Other things on this bike, the foot pegs. There's some modification to the frame there. Don't know exactly. I think that was some stiffening they might have done there. That gets mentioned. The other thing is the head tube got modified a bit, which I think reflects in this little plastic doodad. See how that doesn't touch? Now that may be just how it is, and it may be this change, and they didn't update this part, which, by the way, for me, this gets tossed anyways. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Makes the tank that much harder to take off. It's just stupid. Just get rid of it. The other big change is the rear brake master here. You can see that is a very different part and ginormous. So we'll see. The only obvious potential issue is it's hanging out in space. Probably not going to break. Probably not an issue, but it's hanging there. Other than that, lots of minor changes. As I find some, I'll let you know. So I'm going to take the tank off and start this process. I'm going to start from the inside out. I'm going to start with the carburetor, do the mods that I'm going to do to that. And I'll show you what those are. And we're going to work our way out on this bike. I've got 2 boxes of doodads to put on. I don't like the factory tires. Nothing wrong with them. They're just not my style for the way I ride. So the tires are going to come off. I won't even ride those. Life is too short to waste time riding something that you're not enjoying. Here's another huge change. My 21 had that minuscule space right here. Well, look at this. It's out farther. So they must have changed something, move that out a bit. So that's a little bit different. But very excited about this bike. Still can't figure out the color difference between these and that red, whatever. When the Cherubies comes out with their frame guards, I'll buy those. But of course, with the new brake reservoir master there, the old ones won't fit. So question down the road is going to be still using the plastic subframe, but the new RX 450 uses an aluminum one. Will it retro? I don't know. Someone will probably figure that out. So I did replace the battery too on the 21 near the end, so that battery lasts a long time. Really, not a lot of problems with the bike. It's get on it and ride. So lots of changes to do. Can't wait to have you along for the ride. We'll document everything, and of course, questions and stuff, you let me know. I'll help you any way I can. This is going to be fun. Okay, so now that I have the tank off, immediately see some things that are different. One, these pads, they had a big rubber piece there on my 21. I don't know if these are better or not. Didn't have a problem. But look at that. That's the grounding strap. Where's the ground? Well, let's follow the battery back. Battery. Following it down. Da, 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 da. Look at where it goes. So the bike is grounded directly to the engine. Interesting. That may have to do with some efficiency things or some issues they might have had with these twin spark plugs. There's the second coil. And there's the primary coil. And this is the little tool that they give you. It's just a small little socket. And that little peanut in there, I don't even know if you can really see it. There you go. Maybe you can see it there. See it? See the NGK? It's on the back of the head. There it is. So, and of course another change is the radiators. Pre-dented back. So there's more turn. And there's been a ton of videos already showing how much better it turns. There's the stop right there. You can see that's cranked all the way in. The other thing is you'll notice these little winglets on the louvers. They're a little bit different. So, you know, Beta seems to me, again, to be an ever-evolving, ever-learning, always growing company, which is exciting. And of course the cap is back to the old style or standard or whatever you want to call it cap. I think some guys might have had some issues with theirs. So as always, ginormous radiators. We're going to put a fan on there, which I live in the south of the US. It doesn't come on all that often. So it's nice to have, but these bikes run pretty cool. So, all right. More to come as I take it apart. Again, first thing we're going to go after is the carburetor. Here's another thing. I think people have mentioned this. Rubber boot over the CDI connection. So the computer's there, and you can see a nice little rubber boot. Of course, we'll pull all that, and we'll put dielectric in everything. But, yeah. And, of course, anytime I see a brass fitting that a screw goes into, we'll put anti-seize into all those as well. So, yeah, lots of continued improvements here. All right.